How do you feel about a 4-day work week? Working a 5-day work week just makes life seem so much more pointless. By the time I get the other things I need to do, grocery shopping, appointments, etc., done, it's Sunday night. A 4-day work week might give me time to play the piano I bought to combat depression. That is the worst thing about it all. Sunday is basically just waiting for Monday. Sunday barely even counts as a day off. You spend all day thinking, preparing for the day tomorrow. Honestly, the lack of time is why I'm consciously killing my sleep schedule. Kiddos down and everything by 9. Stay up till midnight or later to make sure I spend time with my wife and also have some me time. And if something else comes up, I just end up staying up later to feel like I didn't waste my entire day at work doing chores around the house just to turn around and do it all over again. Hello, coffee, my old friend. Unfortunately, no one cares about people's mental health in the US. If they did, then they'd give more time off and probably have an office psychologist on staff. My employer gives us every other Friday off. We work 80 hours over 9 days. It's really helpful to have those Fridays to schedule appointments, and I have less desire to burn PTO throughout the year just to take a much needed Friday off. Through the end of October, I had only used 2.5 PTO hours for the year, mostly for doctor's visits. The only real downside is that on the Fridays that we do work, nobody wants to do anything. We did the same thing, but we rotated. Some had Mondays and some had Fridays, and we alternated those as well. So any given day we would only be missing 25% of the office, and everyone had different days, so we weren't collectively not wanting to be there on one day. Rotating it is key. I think it'd need to be rotated across society to be useful. I used to do 12H/3D weeks and a lot of the benefit was being off when other people were still working, so you could book appointments during office hours and so on. If you get Friday off and dentists take Friday off too, then you're back to where you were with a 5-day week. We do the same thing. Can confirm. End up working from home on scheduled Fridays because there's no motivation to go in. Lol. Nobody does anything at work on Fridays already. Friday morning can be pretty productive for me. Forget anything after lunch though. My company switched to 4 10-hour days. We are diesel technicians and work 7-5:30. Half of us work Monday through Thursday and the other half work Tuesday through Friday. We have did this for over 2 years and we all love it. It is so nice to have a 3-day weekend every week. Another thing about it that is nice is if you doctor's appointment or something, I can make it on a Monday and don't have to miss any work. Plus I forgot to mention having a 2 month, this helps out a ton. More time for me to be with my wife and daughter. And if there is a lot to do, I can just come in on Monday and boom, 10 hours of overtime. I work in public works for a city in Minnesota and we're trying to go from 5/8s to 4/10s during the summer. People are fighting it but that's 2 more hours a day I have to work. I won't be getting off at 330 but rather 4:30 if we start at 6 AM instead of 7, or 5:30 if we still start at 7. Yeah, but you get that entire day off. 24 full hours to spend doing house yard work. 24 full hours to spend with your family. 24 hours to do nothing compared to that measly 2 hours a day. You'd easily catch up on the stuff you're missing out on by working 2 extra hours a day. 24 hours off is more than 10 hours off. That adds up to weeks. 4 days off a month for 5 months would be 20 days off, just short of 3 weeks off during the summer instead of 4-5 days, adding up that 2 hours a day. Then you think about the money you're saving by not driving. I drive 60 miles a day. I get 20 to the gallon. That's 3 gallons of gas per day. 15 gallons a week. Say a gallon of gas is about $3, that's $45 a week. Trim that to 12 gallons a week. 36. That's $9 saved a week over 20 weeks. $180 saved over 5 months. That's an extra $18 an hour on top of your regular $25 hour. Then you are saving PTO sick comp time by not using those days to get an extended weekend. That's even more money saved and more time off. It makes too much sense not to do it. I work 4/10s for my dad's fabrication shop. The way he always put it was that you don't really notice working 2 extra hours in a day once you're already at work, but you sure notice a whole extra day off. I'd rather bang out all my hours ASAP instead of letting them spread and spoil more days. A work day is a work day. Not much else happens. I'm glad you're happy, but this is the only bit I have a problem with. A 7 AM start, or let's say 7 PM finish, is not good for the vast majority of people. It shouldn't be about 10-hour days to get another day off. It should be about reducing the overall time people spend at work in order to improve well-being. 4x 8-hour days is better than 4x 10. Obviously, it's a very fortunate outcome that productivity is shown to increase, because if it wasn't for that we'd probably never get this done. It confuses me how everyone considers the alternate of 5x8 to be 4x10 rather than just 4x8. What people are missing out on from these studies is that our 40-hour work week is no longer efficient, and in many cases working less is more efficient, and provides multitudes of other additional benefits, mental well-being being one of them. I think it largely stems from something along the lines of how the relationship between an employee and their work is cultivated, having a significant impact on work efficiency, coupled with people don't work or do things in the same ways that they used to. In other words, it's time to let go of the old ways and move forward. I would probably hate Mondays less. With all that extra time I had, I'd buy myself a writing pad and write a pantomime. I'd take a walk around the park to watch the birds in flight. I'd sit and stare, and after dark, I'd view the stars. At night I'd learn to craft a boat or two to sail across the sea. I'd find the perfect thing to do, with me, and only me. I'd paint myself a silver scene of homes and hills and lakes. I'd make a glossy magazine for baking tasty cakes. I'd take a swim beyond the shore and through the foam and spray. The world would be my open door, with just an extra day, with all that extra time to spend, to spare, to share, to know I'd live my dreams. But in the end, I'd only wasted though. A couple of years ago I took a job that shortened my commute from 2 hours round trip to 30 minutes round trip. I still haven't figured out where that extra 1.5 hours went, or more. Most likely we would replace 8-hour work days for 10-hour work days. I already have that bit on 5. Most of the models I have seen are contingent on 4 8-hour days and maintaining same benefits. Without that redefinition of normal full-time employment, the benefits are not gained. As for what day to implement as the off day, by vote is Wednesday. That way you have 2 Fridays to look forward to, while having the option to do 4 10-hour days would be nice. People could decide if it would improve their lives. It's a terrible plan from the perspective of societal benefit, no matter how much idiot workaholics claim otherwise. Productivity is not steady across an 8-hour day. Most people can do, in a 6-hour day, the same level of productivity they could in an 8, maybe 10% less. Maybe, if we want to make society better, people should work closer in line to school. 9-3, 30-hour week. Makes a lot more sense, and then most of us wouldn't need a 4-day week to get stuff done. There'd still be time to get stuff done during the week. And those without kids? Give them the option of 4 8-hour days. Most of them would probably prefer the day off. Life would be that much better. I would have somewhere around 50 extra days a year to do all the yard work and home projects that I don't want to spend all weekend doing. When you put it like that, 52 extra days per year, it becomes a slam dunk yes. Unfortunately I am teacher, and it won't switch for me unless the rest of society changes to it first. Only districts that do 4 days right now tend to be rural. Our local community colleges, health programs, nursing, etc. just swap to 4-day weeks. I coordinate their rotations at the hospital where I work. I sit and have very quiet Fridays now and would give a whole lot to be able to be off those days. Personally, as a student, I'm all for year-round school with 4-day weeks and 2-3 weeks off during summer. Having summer completely off is outdated and really hurts students. Like I'm so happy I did a calculus class over the summer, otherwise I'd be effed. They talked about this in the 70s. Yay, everyone said. My dad did it. He worked for 12+ HR days and took off Friday. Everyone else was like, if I work the 12 hours the 4 days plus another 12. I can make even more money. Yay. I remember this happening with one of the Kellogg companies. They reduced the number of hours of every worker in order to avoid massive layoffs. Then everyone was just so happy with the new structure. They kept it for decades, until larger shifts in the economy made workers rethink what they wanted, and they went back to 40-hour work week in order to make more money. I think the workers were just reflective of what people wanted at the time: more money in order to purchase more things, leisure activities, etc. But there's a pretty significant shift in what people want now. where I feel a lot of younger people care more about how much time they have, possibly because they grew up seeing that the race to acquire wealth wasn't really paying out the benefits that were promised. Happiness, life satisfaction, etc. Nah dude, we just want more time to game. I feel like people are missing the point, which is that we need to shorten the work week amount of time spent at work. When people say we should switch to 4-day work weeks, they don't mean 4/10s or 4/12s. We need to work less, meaning 4-day weeks that are still 8-hour days, or less, because most people could get the same amount of work done in 4, 5 or 6-hour days as they do spreading it out over 5/8s and procrastinating at work as much as they can, with adding in commuting time, and any time outside of work spent thinking about work, answering texts or emails, etc. The average adult spends way too much time on work. Provided there's no drop in salary, I'm brilliant, it, I'll take the drop in salary. My biggest complaint probably in general, is that there is no way to take extra time off. I can only take 2.5 weeks a year and that is just stupid. Life becomes slaving away constantly without leaving the same 10-mile radius. That goes on for decades. Leads to extreme depression. We only get one life and we make a sick joke out of it because there is no other way to survive. And then it degrades your morale even more until you are a helpless husk of a person who can't find a way out. That's primarily a US problem. 25-30 paid vacation days are the norm in Europe. I would gladly work for 10-hour days to have an extra day off. 2-day weekends are too short. They're gone just as soon as you start to feel comfortable. Honestly, free time is the biggest luxury. I've worked 4, 5, 9s, 4/10s, and 5-8s. I was stoked to try out 3-day weekends for the first time, but honestly I like 2-day weekends the best. I still take vacation time for trips and family and time off, but switching from an 8-hour day to a 10-hour day is brutal. Feels like the work days never end. I'm sure that's different profession to profession. I work 4 9-hour days and then half-day Fridays. The Fridays themselves are awesome because even though it's a half day, with the proximity to the weekend and how many people take those days off, they are barely work days at all. Not stressful at all. This is awesome too because you can get a 3-day weekend by only taking a half vacation day. The biggest downside that people don't realize is how much working a 9-hour or 10-hour, usually I'm here from 8-6 day really sucks. You arrive when it's dark, you leave when it's dark, and by the time you get home it's 6:37 and you can do one thing before needing to go to bed. Working out, cooking, cleaning, all become a lot harder when you're home at that hour instead of home at 5/5:30 every day. The half-day Fridays themselves can be a lot of fun in summer when there are things to do, but you know what happens in winter? I go home at 12 and sleep for a couple hours to make up for sleep deprivation earlier in the week lol. It all evens out in the end. Why does everyone assume 4/10 when this question is asked? They assume they still have to work 40 hours. I think a lot of employers would insist on a 20% pay cut if you suddenly worked 20% fewer hours. Personally, I think people waste a lot of time at work and changing to a 32-hour 4-day work week would not significantly impact productivity. Making that argument is awkward though. Hey boss, I actually waste like 8 hours a week currently, so like if you switch me to a 32-hour work week I'll do the same amount of work. Promise. I work 4/10s a week instead of the usual 8/5s and I effing love it. 2 extra hours each shift is easily worth a 3-day weekend. Feel like I actually get a break from work each week. I do this as well. Would not go back to 5/8s or 3-day weekend is actually enough time to properly relax, and the difference between an 8-hour day or a 10-hour day isn't really perceptible. Think it makes sense. All the evidence suggests it works, and the welfare benefits would be enormous. How does it improve welfare benefits? I mean personal well-being, not welfare as in social security. My main concern with a 4-day week is that the lowest paid members of our society will just end up working more jobs to just get by. Given that we now have more people in the workforce and supposedly more productivity because of automation, we ought to be dropping down to 32-hour weeks to compensate for the changes in our household structures. What I don't get is why we work on hours instead of the work being done. I apparently get paid to carry out certain responsibilities, not to just be physically present at a workplace. But if I finish all my work I don't get to leave. It incentives wasting just enough time that you look busy all day. Otherwise they just hit you with even more work, effectively punishing you for being good at your job. Yeah, to the point where we look for new things to do at work just to feel like we're filling up the day. Used to do a 12-hour day 3 days a week. It was glorious. I did a rotation of 12s. 3 on 4 off. 4 on 3 off. It was nice, but during the winter as was hell. You walked into work in the dark, worked in artificial lights all day, and when you left, it was dark. I work 8-hour days in the Midwest and already deal with that. I not only think it would be great, I think we should go further and eliminate required work hours for certain jobs altogether. Most office jobs can easily be done from home with a phone and a working internet connection. There's no reason to force people to commute and sit on a cubicle for hours and hours every week just so bosses can make sure they're working. That's 1919 thinking, not 2019 thinking. When you hire me, you should pay me X amount of dollars for Y amount of work. Whether it takes me 12 hours a week or 54 hours a week to get it done, my salary X never changes, and any free time is my own. In terms of climate change, it'd be about 20% less CO2 emissions from commuters, which is nice. Not just commuting, but running a workplace. Industrial jobs are the most obvious, but even an office building full of computers, lights, climate control, etc. uses a lot of energy. Also, how do you feel about OP asking questions that they know for a fact that virtually all Reddit agrees on but asks anyway for karma and attention? At least you're honest, I guess. I don't complain when the stripper is lying to me about how sexy I am. As long as it is for 8-hour days with no change in pay, I can get the same amount of work done in 32 hours as I get done in 40.